everyone, thank you for joining my video presentation. I'm Kristina Kelman and I'll be delivering my paper on preparing global ready and interculturally competent graduates for the music and entertainment industries. Okay, over the last 10 years, researchers have studied music industry environments to assess the skills and knowledges required of graduates. These include emotional, social, intellectual, and musical competence, and the ability to interpret the nuances of the industry to be collaborative, productive, and adaptive. Now, these skills are particularly crucial for students looking towards music industry careers, not only because the industry is in a constant state of flux due to technological changes, but also from a socio-cultural perspective where the music industry, particularly in recent years, has been called to address inherent gender, racial, and class disparity. Now, prior to the digital era, higher education's role was to prepare graduates for the local and regional economies. But now, with the click of a mouse, the local workforce has become global. The focus of education has now shifted to preparing students to vie competitively in the global marketplace, thus preparing global-ready graduates who are flexible, adaptive, and interculturally competent. The higher education's internationalisation agenda recognises that globally focused experiences and literacies are central to developing culturally competent professionals capable of operating in diverse communities and environments, both internationally and locally. And according to Goldstein et al., students are demanding study abroad that offers greater scope for exploring broader international career possibilities while developing greater cultural awareness, personal growth, and intercultural communication skills. This paper aims to gain insights into the experiences of both musicians and music industry students involving an intercultural music project that begins with a semester-long virtual collaboration culminating in an immersive 2-week program in Chennai, India. Through insights gained, the research goals focus on whether project-based study tours can assist students to 1. Develop the skills and attributes required for transitioning into successful music and creative industries careers, and 2. Develop intercultural competency and awareness while developing the ability to critically reflect on numerous issues in their own society, including gender, race, and class. So, what exactly is intercultural competency? Well, there are myriad definitions of intercultural competency. However, consensus across researchers in the field describe it as a set of skills and desirable educational outcomes for students working towards a healthy and just world community. In a more practical sense, Bennett's definition is useful, summarized as a set of cognitive, affective, and behavioral skills and characteristics that support effective and appropriate interaction in a variety of cultural contexts. If one argues that intercultural competence goes beyond a superficial binary of similarity and difference to find deep, meaningful relationships, then one could argue that this is a key goal for students entering the professional, local, and global music communities. And this rings true for Australian students who live and will most likely work in a country rich in cultural diversity, a country home to the world's oldest Indigenous culture, together with another 270 ancestries from around the world. However, this does not automatically make for interculturally competent students and requires intercultural training to give students the opportunity to appreciate the complexity of another culture in order that they might have a greater understanding of their own culture. Research into the Australian music industry revealed that male advantage is a pervasive feature with radio playlists, festival lineups, industry awards, peak bodies, and major industry boards dominated by male voice. In 2015, only 2% of works programmed in contemporary music, theatre, and dance across Australia comprise First Nations peoples. Now, more than ever, we need graduates who are socially engaged and connected musicians and industry workers with the knowledge and skills to drive the Australian music industry forward in equitable ways. So, I'd like to set the scene and give you a little bit of context about the project, which has been going since 2015. I have talked about the Indy 100 model at MEIEA a couple of times before, so I don't want to get into it in too much detail. However, the project is informed by an existing experiential learning model and research project that ran out of QUT for 7 years. Basically, the Indie 100 is a recording project, large scale, records and promotes 100 songs in 100 hours. It brings together local and national industry figures, 300 to 500 local musicians, and around 70 students from music, entertainment industries, management, marketing, and law. It sort of serves as an intensive classroom for students and brings them in contact with national producers and local artists and inducts them into the intensity of a professional production environment. Now, what's this got to do with India? Well, the singer-songwriter tradition, firstly, to give some context, at the time of its emergence, perhaps 30 years ago, the industry was predominantly focused on the Bollywood industry, leaving the independent scene to emerge underground without the affordances of a music industry structure we know in the West. In 2015, I received internal funding to partner with an Indian independent music and film organisation called EarthSync. And we ran a mini Indie 100 in Chennai as a way to kind of unearth and expose these independent musicians. The pilot project was successful, and the Australia-India Council then funded me to run the project on a slightly larger scale in 2015 and 16. And at this time, we also brought in a higher education partner from Chennai, the KM Music Conservatory. In 2018, I was awarded funding through the New Colombo Plan, which funded 14 QUT students to be involved in the project in the form of a study tour and travel to India. And in 2019, the study tour continues, and this time it's sustainable because the students are self-funding their study tour. And how it actually works, as I mentioned, there are two parts to it. The first part is that the collaborations between QUT and the KM students start in July each year, and then they're realised and refined in person once the students arrive in Chennai. Students also find new collaborators upon arrival, and so begins a buzz of creative energy, learning, and the formation of lifelong friendships. So the QUT and KM music production students work together to produce and record all of these wonderful collaborations, and then the QUT and KM music business team capture the event in short form content on social media. They curate 4 to 5 live events for these collaborations in venues all across Chennai. And then the second part of the project, the students are all involved in the successful running of the Indie 100 program. So they'll be involved as session musicians, assistant producers, and of course the business team do all of the event management, the promotion and the distribution of the music that's recorded. Of course, during the study tour, there's opportunities for QUT students to attend classes and to learn about Indian classical music. In both years of the study tour, there has been little to no interest in tourist activities, with the students highly absorbed in their work, rehearsing with their collaborators around the clock, performing in live events and socialising with their new friends. So, Vandenberg et al. Found in their research that short-term study abroad does not improve intercultural competency, while Rennick cited highly successful examples due to instructors designing experiences around learning goals rather than simply putting the students in a new place. Now, while there's reason to be skeptical that deep cultural learning and the development of deep, meaningful relationships can happen in 2 weeks, there is evidence to suggest that this is turbocharged due to the fact that music is the facilitator of intercultural training and high-stakes, risky, real-world deliverables are the goal. So, how did we do this? I've used a qualitative post-travel feedback questionnaire as well as observing the students' assessment. And this was really the types of questions were around asking students about their personal assumptions before and after the trip, culture, beliefs and values, approaches to collaboration and communication in intercultural settings, and how their experiences might have connected with their career aspirations. And to guide the discussion, I've used Deardorff's process model of intercultural competence, which essentially looks at the cultural knowledge gained, the types of skills that are developed that enable students to view the world from other perspectives, and the changing mindset or attitudes in regards to respect, openness, curiosity, and discovery. So, getting straight into the discussion. Working in a new environment where nothing runs on time. A key learning that reappeared consistently across the data set were a set of assumptions around India as chaotic and disorganized. Every student recognized the difference in perception of time. In particular, frustration was observed early on in the trip around most activities, rehearsals, and events running late. In this quote, unpopular opinion, there's a surprising amount of order in what appears to the Western eye as utter chaos. What I'd previously thought was disorganization turned out to be organization with more community-focused prioritization. Now, this excerpt reveals a sense of cultural knowledge, understanding cultural difference, but also demonstrating a disposition to be proven wrong, an attitude of openness and possible skill development in critical thinking. Similar reflections across the data show how students demonstrated knowledge of cultural self-awareness, applied skills of observation and evaluation using patience and perseverance, and developed a discovery attitude seen through a willingness to move beyond one's comfort zone. In this excerpt, the biggest challenge for me was India time. It was an adjustment. I'm always super punctual. Going to a place where time is so fluid and everything runs behind schedule was a challenge I had to get used to. Several of our sound checks began an hour late. The gigs started late. However, I eventually just accepted it and started to just follow the rhythm of the KM students. These types of here we go, we've got a little visitor. These types of realizations lead to internal outcomes for individuals. In this case, the student learns to be flexible and adaptable through shifting their priorities and being less rigid in their mindset. So now on to collaboration, creativity, and communication. Throughout the collaborations, students express the complexities of communication and the need to adapt in order to be productive. In this quote, Indians are very to the point when they speak. In collaboration, I quickly learned not to take criticism personally. That was something I overcame, and I felt like it helped my workflow immensely. In fact, quite a few of the students used the term workflow and productivity throughout the reflections. In this next quote, I learned that everyone's experiences of the same event are different, that communicating with body language can be really helpful when there is a language barrier. Example, I noticed the head bobble, which confused me at first, but I picked up on these nuances as the trip went on. This excerpt reveals a developing knowledge of sociocultural linguistic awareness, applying listening and observational skills, and showing an attitude of respect and openness. In this next excerpt, we can see how the developing knowledges, skills, and attitudes are leading to internal outcomes of empathy, deep relationship formation, and flexibility in work style. In this quote, it made me more aware of the importance of fun. It would have been easy to get caught up in the nitty-gritty. It was through the fun things and the relaxed moments of collaboration and conversation that really made artists and producers gel together, which helped the songwriting and the performance, as well as our ability to understand how people communicate and work together. In the future, I will build on that more relaxed approach and try to ensure that whatever projects I'm working on still allow space for that sense of community and camaraderie. Work ethic and creative approaches were consistently discussed across the data. In particular, students were very inspired by the work ethic of their Indian collaborators, leading to some personal transformation in motivation and commitment from my students when they returned home, again showing how students were reflecting on their own culture and ability to integrate other ways of knowing. in these excerpts, they had a really strong drive and work ethic. It definitely inspired my work ethic, and I realized I'm capable of taking on a larger workload than I thought. Since returning, I've begun to attend more live events and indie music events, and diversity in my musical taste slightly to include more genres and artists. And then the final quote there, I have now become interested in doing further research into how exposure to different musical styles affects people's ability to communicate effectively. So we're really seeing here an attitude of openness, curiosity, asking questions about cultural difference, and discovery. So in this next excerpt, I wanted to show that what I could really see coming through here was this idea of developing empathy. Here we see, on one hand, I want to be more relaxed and create without consequence, embrace curiosity and play, try to recapture the childlike wonder that comes in the early days of music. This is coming from seeing people follow music from their love of it in the face of dire opportunities. And so in this particular excerpt of collaborative process, a student was able to develop empathy in appreciating the struggles and realities of another person's situation. Okay, and the final theme here around career preview, or making connections between their experiences and their aspiring careers. Given that the context required students to collaborate both in intercultural and interdisciplinary ways and meet a set of industry outcomes in the form of live events, recording and production, music promotion and distribution, it created an intense and productive environment. Now, while students were quite stressed at times, they valued the experience in connection with their emerging careers. So in this these very short quotes, we can see being able to apply this knowledge and tolerance in future situations, learning how to work with other people in unfamiliar environments, and given me insights into how I might adapt to different and changing conditions. I would love for you to take a moment to watch this short 2-minute video that showcases a condensed version of one student's video reflection assessment. And also, just at the end, I tacked on one of the musical collaborations that happened in Chennai between the students that was promoted by the business team and released on streaming platforms. Enjoy.
Still and steal away to hide from yesterday. The blanket is seen, weed endless ways. Sensations die from place to place. Now all that make me feel better is lost in lacking grace. It's cutting tides so tight.
Okay, so in conclusion, Just to keep in mind, it was in both years a small cohort of 14 students and a short tour of 2 weeks. The features of the tour that seem to work well are the fact that the students have a lot of ownership over the project, over the tour, and the real world project provided a professional lens as opposed to a tourist lens. Deep immersion and a short time frame for delivering the project revealed how students adjusted and adapted to operate effectively within themselves and in interaction with others. It does lead us to think about how we might build these sorts of processes into the curriculum in the local context, especially when study tour funding is not available to students, and not all students can afford to do this. But what we do know is that interaction between people makes it come alive. I really like Godwin, Carlson and L's desire for students who are capable of navigating the superdiversity. And in conclusion, encounters with difference are necessary in our societies and communities, and these programs offer important learning pathways. Thank you.